lying in the way that he does it, repeated, dangerous lying, makes him unfit and is a sign of serious mental disturbance. And to the extent he doesn't know reality, and I agree, by the way, I don't think he does know reality clearly. He doesn't have a clear grasp of it because he changes it. He makes up reality to suit his internal needs.
That was former Harvard Medical School professor Lance Dodas. We're joined now by Indira Lakshmanan, and Steve Brill is back with us. Indira, the question that won't go away, and how does the media deal with this question? That's the first stage of it, because the world has to figure out how to deal with this question.
Well, you're absolutely right, Lawrence, to point out that this is not a new question. This is a question that surfaced last year, even among journalists who had been at one point boosters of Donald Trump's, or at least had given him favorable interviews. Let's not forget that Joe Scarborough last August got a lot of ink for, at the time, saying that Donald Trump was unhinged and questioning his sanity. And there were reams and reams of articles written last year questioning whether he was a textbook narcissist or sociopath. I mean, I think the larger question here, we're not, we're journalists, we're not psychologists or psychiatrists. I think the more important question is his grip on reality. And I think the really important thing that journalists have to do is continually interrogate the facts. If he is going to, between 3:30 and 4 o'clock in the morning, put out this 5-tweet storm about Watergate, making these allegations about what would be a felony if Obama had done it, and we now find out that James Comey of the FBI actually tried to get the Justice Department to deny it, and we know that DNI Clapper said no, that never happened. So I think the journalists have to ask the question, okay, what is the proof, Mr. President? What is the proof that you are going to attach to these allegations that you're making? And the worrisome thing is that he seems to be depending on these conspiracy theorists like Alex Jones of InfoWars and Mark Levin, who you were showing earlier in the show, and people who are being picked up in Breitbart News. And that is worrisome if the president is relying not on intelligence briefings from professionals, but on right-wing media sites with conspiracy theorists. It's like the birther thing. We have to go back to that. Maybe that wasn't some clever political trick. Maybe he truly believed that.
Steve, we went through the entire election year. I was unable to book psychologists, psychiatrists on the show because they had this previous rule saying they're not supposed to diagnose in public. Some of them have just broken that rule and said there's a higher authority rule here that must be conformed to, which is the duty to warn people that they could be harmed by someone who they see as damaged. And that's what has brought out the psychiatrists and the psychologists.
Well, I think that's right. As a journalist and a reporter, I have two reactions to this discussion. One is, remember the book, The Final Days?
Yes.
Of the great Woodward and Bernstein book? That's where we found out Nixon was talking to the
portraits, drunk in the White House late at night.
Well,
yes.
We need Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein to be doing that, but not waiting for a book. Mm-hmm. That stuff has to be going on. You want to know what the conversation was on Saturday morning when the first of the president's aides spoke to him and said, "Hey, I saw you tweeted something. What was that about?"
So you've just raised a fascinating ethical dilemma, which is the Woodward and Bernstein model was we collect this information. We work for the Washington Post. We collect this information. It doesn't become public until the book comes out a year or 2 years later. You're saying there's an obligation if you find that material now to reveal it?
Well, yes, but in fairness to them, I assume they didn't get a lot of the information until Nixon was on his helicopter and gone.
Yes.
The second reaction I have is the only way this is going to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed, is if the Republicans don't look away. Mm-hmm. They continue to look away. They're the ones with the credibility. They're the ones in the room a lot of the time. Nixon left when Barry Goldwater and other Republicans went to the White House and said, "You got to go." These Republicans have to start talking about the 25th Amendment.
Yeah, it always has to come from the president's party. And the 25th Amendment we've discussed on this show before. It's fascinating. We'll do it again. Indira Lakshmanan and Stephen Brill, thank you both for joining us tonight.